said.
Oh, it's recording.
It's recording. So, I was just thinking, maybe, I don't know, cool to have some background noise, as long as we can still hear us talk. So, I remember I was saying to you it'd be kind of cool to do some interviews or whatever and get to know people of the guild, and so kind of like going off of what we were talking yesterday, I think you were mentioning that you kind of got into blacksmithing when you were pretty young.
Yeah, for sure.
Took a course with Matt at Cloverdale when you were, what, 8 you said?
No, it was about 8 years ago, I guess.
8 years ago, sorry, okay.
I was about 15, yeah.
15, okay. Oh, still pretty young.
Yeah.
So you took that with your dad?
Took that with my dad. Always had an interest in, knives and swords, like every 15-year-old kid, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much.
And
what was your what like, was it medieval movies or?
Yeah, pretty much. The Lord of the Rings and stuff like that, and history, and always had an interest in that, so
cool.
So I tried to make knives and stuff like that at home when I was a kid, and tinkering around in the garage, and eventually got set up with some tools and stuff like that, and I took that course with Matt Jenkins, me and my dad, and slowly built the set of tools and skills that I needed until today, and now I have my own shop and set up pretty well for what I need.
Yeah,
at home.
At this point, yeah. Got it going pretty good.
Yeah.
So when you first started, did you have a forge of any sort? Like, did you make like a little? Holy shit, that guy's giving her. Well, like coal forge, or did you try just playing with the fire or anything?
Yeah. Well, the first time I ever tried blacksmithing, it was just in like some nice coals and after just like in a fire pit. Yeah. Tried heating up a piece of metal and wailing on it with a hammer. So then after that, I built like sort of a coal forge, or charcoal actually.
Right.
And just out of like bricks on top of a steel plate with a hole drilled in the bottom, so I could blow some air through the bottom with an air compressor.
An air compressor.
An air compressor.
Nice.
And that's where it kind of started there.
Cool.
Using an old tractor weight as a handle, sort of.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And so today, fast forward 8 years, you're how old? 23, you said? 25?
23.
23?
Yeah.
23 years old. I still have the luxury of living at home. From what you were saying, it's a pretty good home. You're out on the farm, and well, it's kind of a farm. Like, you got a good acreage going on, but it's not actually a farm.
A little country property.
There you go.
A couple miles out of town. So
yeah, it's sweet gig, man. Get to do some hunting right out to your back door almost.
Right out the back, yeah.
You can't ask for better than that. So now at this point, you're running an actual anvil now. At this point, an actual forge. At this point. What kind of anvil are you running on?
It's a 141-pound Peterite.
Where did you find that?
Just made a connection on Kijiji and bought it off of a guy in exchange for some tongs that I made and some cash.
Nice. Can't ask for a better deal than that.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet. So what do you have your anvil mounted to?
It's just a stand made out of like 4x4 blocks, kind of stacked like a Jenga tower, kind of.
Okay, wooden blocks, or yeah. Okay, nice. And you're not running a 2x72 at this point. You said you don't have a 2x72 yet. So what are you doing for profiling your edges, and how do you do all your sand work?
I have like a little belt sander, and I do a lot with just hand files and angle grinder with flap wheels, whatever.
The good old
Yeah.
right angle grinder community. Bam, bam, bam.
Yeah. And then all the finishing is done hand sanding.
I love hand sanding, right?
Yeah, it's good. But it makes for a good finish of a blade. So
Yeah, it's the only way. When you say a little sander, like how little are we talking about
it's
here?
just like a 1 inch by 30 inch belt.
1 by 30, okay.
Yeah, just one of those little sanders from Princess Auto, basically.
Gotta love our Princess Auto. Canadians love our Princess Auto, man. It's the Harbor Freight of Canada. It's good times there. Cool. So, you've made quite a few blades in your time now, and some of them are pretty freaking nice. Where have you gotten all of your ideas from?
Other makers, talking to other people, social media, seeing different designs and getting ideas, and ultimately just hands-on, trying to make things out of my own imagination, I guess.
Yeah, man.
I mean, for every good blade that I've made, there's plenty of shitty ones that are thrown in the scrap bin later, but
yeah, everyone's got to have their drawer full of failed knives,
exactly.
right? Cool. What else do we talk about here? Do you have anybody in specific, any names that you that come to mind when you think of your blade making, people that have influenced you?
I'm totally blanking right now.
No worries, man.
But yeah, there's all sorts of different knife makers and different craftsmen that each influence a little bit that I follow on like Instagram and Facebook.
You have your own Instagram account?
I do, yeah.
What's your Instagram account?
It's Metalhead Forge.
Metalhead Forge. That's freaking rad, dude. I like that. What about a Facebook account?
I don't have anything for my blacksmithing on Facebook.
See yourself.
Yeah. Don't do much on there, so.
Yeah, you got like a million female followers on
Of course,
Facebook, right? Yeah.
Can't
Like all
keep
of us.
them away.
That's typical blacksmith problem.
Yeah.
Happens, yeah.
I also need custom-made pants that have 3 legs.
Nice, I like that. That's good, yeah.
Edit that out later if need be.
That's left in for sure. So what do you do recreationally for yourself? Any sports you play, stuff you do outside of blacksmithing?
A little bit of hockey in the winter and basketball in the summer.
Typical Canadian.
Oh, yeah.
Our hockey and our basketball. And from what I've learned in the last couple days, you're a huge fan of the metal. Obviously, Metalhead Forge.
Yeah.
Pretty rad. You got some bands that you like to listen to on the regular, from the looks of things on your jacket sleeve there.
For sure. Big into Rush and Judas Priest, old school stuff like that.
Classic.
The Sword, and yeah. If it's metal, it's probably good. So
Nice. That's awesome. I like that. If it's metal, it's probably good.
which applies for blacksmithing too.
Yes. Yeah. Hey, there you go, man. Pretty much. So, let's see. If you were to talk about any of your blades that you've worked on ever, if somebody was to ever ask you something about something that in your blade work that you feel was, something that comes to mind when you think of your blade work that you've done specifically, that you would pass on to another smith or something, knowledge that you've gained from working say maybe your copper inlays that you've done on some of your work that I saw there, to the way you made that wicked sheath for your sword, stuff like that. Like, just, I don't know, some of the stuff you do is out of this world. I don't know where you pick up these ideas from, but
yeah, I don't know. I would say always be open to taking advice and getting tips from the guys who are very experienced. Not that I'm one of those guys, because I'm still always learning as well, and
we all are. Never ends, man.
But and you're never gonna be the best at everything, so it's good to always be trying to learn new things. And even if somebody isn't doing something, what am I trying to say? Even if you haven't heard of maybe an idea that you want to incorporate, like, don't be afraid to try new things. Like not all the ideas that I came up with for my knives have been like directly influenced by somebody else doing that first. Sometimes it's like, you know what, I don't know how to inlay copper wire, but I'm gonna just try it in something else. Like the inlays on that sword guard, I didn't watch any tutorials or anything to that. I just cut some slots, hammered some wire in there, and it's like, hey, I can't get this out now. It's actually holding in there, so I guess it worked. Like,
well,
I mean, it doesn't hurt to watch tutorials and stuff like that too, but
if you think about it, I mean, where would blacksmithing be if we didn't have guys like that did stuff like that?
Yeah, for sure.
Right? I mean, how many guys are gonna come around and say that this is how you do that if no one's ever done it before?
Yeah.
Someone's gonna start somewhere, and there's gonna be failures. It's guaranteed you're gonna run into failures when you're trying something new.
Lots of them. Yep.
Yeah, and you gotta accept those failures as they're not. Nothing's a failure. Nothing's ever a failure. It's a learning process.
Yeah,
you know, you learn what not to do next time. It's essentially that. Nothing's a failure until you die. That's my yeah. If it killed you, then yeah, unfortunately you failed. There's no going around that. You didn't learn nothing there. But somebody else might have learned from it. So, yeah,
For sure.
in retrospect, again, death can always be a learning process as well. But with your blacksmithing, do you have a goal in mind as to where you want to go with it? Is it something you feel like you want to continue doing for the rest of your life, or?
Yeah, I would have no plans on ever stopping. I mean, there's times when, you know, things get busy and there's not as much time for it, but then again, like at one point I kind of wanted to, like, I thought that maybe that's what I want to do for a living, but after a while, if you're making whatever somebody else wants you to make, then it just becomes work. So I think it's at a pretty good place right now where I have a solid income from my full-time job, and then I can just do that when sit in the forge whenever I have a little bit of spare time, and it's kind of just a self-sustaining hobby because I can sell a little bit of things here and there and use that to put back into it. So
right. So as the game's been rolling for you so far, it's essentially you've had a few custom orders come in,
yeah.
But for the most part, what you prefer to do is set your brain free to make what you want to make.
Exactly.
And if somebody wants it, you'll set a price for them.
Yeah.
Or do you generally do you have a bit of play with that with customers? Do you let them come in and offer you something for it? Or do you kind of generally have a price point set in mind for your work?
Depends how much I like whatever I made. Like, because there have been times, like one time, a friend of mine, he asked me, yeah, how much for this knife? And I made that knife like for the purpose of using it for myself when I'm hunting. And I told him like, and I really liked it. It turned out well, I thought. And so I told him, yeah, $250.
Which is a pretty reasonable price for a good knife.
Yeah, and I didn't think anything of it, and I turned around and he's putting cash down on the table for me. And I was like, okay, like I honestly didn't want to sell it, but he's putting money down and giving me exactly what I told him I wanted for it, so I guess I'm selling it.
In the back of your head, son of a...
Yeah.
Should have gone 3 or 4.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that's a story I've heard too many times when it comes to knife makers and selling their work is, shoot for the stars. What's the harm in trying to ask for more?
Yeah.
If they don't want to give you more, they'll offer you less. But if you go too low, they're pulling their wallet out and signing that check before you have a chance to think about it. So it's an interesting concept, really, with pricing your work. And there's a part of me that thinks that when it comes to producing work for other people, that you want to have that feel for your work, where you, like you were saying, where you're like, I made this for myself, for me to use, and I don't really want to get rid of it because this is something I would use. That's how happy I am with it. Like, that's essentially a quality point that you want to reach as a maker with everything you produce. That anything goes out your door, you want to have that feel to it where it's like, I don't really want to sell this because I like it that much, but if I like it that much, then it means it's worthwhile to sell. Whereas if you're like, yeah, I don't care about that, please buy it.
Yeah,
I'll sell to you for $60, I don't care. You kind of, you've done yourself any favors, really, right?
Yeah.
So, no, we were talking earlier. Excuse me, I got a runny nose. We were talking earlier. Sorry. We were talking earlier a little bit about spike knives, railroad spike knives, and how it's kind of become this thing that everybody is doing nowadays. And they're cool. Not gonna knock spike knives. They've got their place in blacksmithing. It's great for the guys that are learning how to make knives.
It's easy to find the steel, and
that's
kind of just good practice.
Yep, very good practice. And as much as the steel isn't what, we're not gonna lie, we're not gonna say it's great steel. It's not great steel. It's high carbon content at best is a medium carbon content. Like, you're not getting 1080 railroad spikes. It's not happening. They're not out there. Maybe they are, but it's not a common thing. You're not going to find good railroad spikes for making high quality knives. You can make quality knives, but we're talking high quality knives. Knives that we're going to sell to people for $300 plus, going up into $1,000 range, thousands of dollars ranges, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to use steel from a spike to build a knife like that. That's where you're going to start bringing in your specialty steels, your CRV and your stuff like that, right? So when it comes to selecting steel, what processes do you use when it comes to your blades? Have you ever ordered steel before? Or are you kind of a junkyard steel guy?
I have a lot of junkyard steel because people keep on giving it to me, so I try to use some of that. But if I'm trying to get make a good knife for somebody for a specific purpose, then I'll always buy new steel from Canadian Knife Maker or.
Okay. Canadian Knife Maker is definitely one of the. No shout outs here. We're not sponsored in any sort of way, obviously, but we're just talking. So, Canadian knife maker, one of the very well-known companies in Canada that you can order steel from, do heat treating, and I think they sell leather and stuff like that there too. Pretty much anything that's knife
Anything
making.
for your knife grinder or
Yeah, knife grinders, yeah, belts,
yeah.
stuff like that. So, when you order steel, do you order steel based off of what you want to order? Do you go off of what a customer wants?
I just kind of use my own judgment what will work for the knife. I don't think I've never had a customer that has requested a certain kind of steel. They're just like, I want like a skinning knife or something like that. And
Right.
you're not going to use a medium carbon steel for something that should be holding an edge for a long time, right?
Now, when you say that you won't use a medium carbon for something that's going to hold an edge, what would you use? What's your go-to?
Probably 1080 is usually pretty common for me. I've made kitchen knives out of that. I don't know. I'm no expert either, but that's worked pretty well for me so far. So.
And you've also been playing with Damascus as well. Have you played with any Sanmai or?
Not with much success so far.
That's something that I'm very interested in getting into. Sanmai.
Okay.
Stainless work is something that definitely spikes my interest. So with your Damascus that you've done, have you ever tried following a pattern? Is it just random pattern?
The little bit that I've done, it's just been just kind of a random pattern, just trying to get as many layers as I can.
Yeah.
With the material that I have, and with that too, you lose so much material due to like scale and stuff.